Hey guys, Jota here. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about event rewards. And I'm basically going to be listing what I think are the 5 best event rewards in the game. Now, these are event rewards which I think are, they're just really good event rewards. And I just have to say they're probably some of the best we've got. Now, I won't be including Twitch drops in this because that's something completely different. So, no Twitch drop rewards. So, you're not going to see stuff like the Golden Beretta. You're not going to see stuff like the Crusader, some unique troops and stuff like that. I'm going to start with some honourable mentions first before I start. So, this, because I basically wrote down quite a few down for you. I've got 5 honourable mentions to begin with. So, yeah, we'll start with the honourable mentions and then we're going to go straight into number 5 after that. Coming in for the honourable mentions, in no particular order, the first one I'm going to mention is actually the New Zealand squad, which was the final reward in Fiery November, not Battle Summer, in Operation Fiery November. This was essentially the Charlton Automatic squad. It required 13 of the tasks to be completed. Essentially, it's a free semi-premium squad. Now, in my opinion, it's actually the weakest of all of the semi-premiums, and that's mostly due to the Charlton itself. I think it's not as good as the PPK or either of the suppressed weapons, which is kind of why it's coming in as the absolute, it's coming in as an honorable mention. It's still a good squad. It's still a good squad at the end of the day, but there's just I just cannot, I just cannot put it on the list compared to what's coming on. Next, it's going to have to be essentially all of the hero soldiers. Now, this is basically any hero soldier. It doesn't matter what campaign. Well, it is, it could have been the engineer hero from, basically from both the events. There's one at the moment, as of recording, the airborne event. And there was one in D-Day. There was one in Fiery November. I think one in Battle Summer as well. But basically, these are uniques. There was one in Silent Hunters as well, the Gunner 2 for the Soviets. Essentially, these are special soldiers. They get a unique medal. And they come with, they're good for lower level players, but I just think for higher level players, you can just use other soldiers. And they have the potential of being low rolled, which is stupid in my opinion. So, yep. The third honourable mention, now this one's probably going to be the most controversial one, but it's actually cold steel weapons. Now, I love cold steel weapons. Don't get me wrong. I love cold steel weapons. They are some of my absolute favourite weapons in the game. I love the swords. I love them. But I don't think they're just up to what could on the list. It's basically, these will probably be a close number 6, I would say. Speaking of cold steel, the next one is actually the red PPS, which came during the Victory in Europe event. Now, you got the red PPS. Basically, you had to get it's a PPS 42 maxed out with a red camo. Now, the reason why this is coming in as an honourable mention is because, well, it's just a red PPS, and honestly, it could be better. It really could be better if it was something like let's just say, it could be better if it was if it was, you could have 5 of these, for example, instead of just 1, because it took up 4. It took up 4 of the orders, and you could either buy 1 of these and a cold steel sword, or you could buy 5 cold steel swords. I mean, it's good there for the collectors. Like, I've got it because I like collecting weapons. But, yeah, for most other players, not really that good. And finally, for the honourable mentions, the final one. Now, this is probably going to be the most controversial one. But it's actually the BT-7A with the 76mm, which is in Stalingrad. I just think it's a cool, unique vehicle. But I do get why people do not like it, because Stalingrad, if you don't have if you have the paid progression, you're basically never going to use this, because you're going to get the KV1 after like 3 matches, because Stalingrad's progression is bonked. But for people like me who don't have Stalingrad and maybe once in a blue moon wants to try it out, it's good. So, those being the honourable mentions, let's move on to number 5. Coming in at number 5 is the P-47 Razorback. Now, the Razorback was in the fire in November. Was the fire in November? It had 6 M8 rockets, a 500-pound bomb, and it was essentially just a reskin of the P-47, with the H-files being replaced with 6 M8 rockets. It required 8 tasks to be completed in order to get it, and can be used only in Normandy. Now, the thing with this is, the reason why it's so low is because why would you use this over the P-40? Like, obviously, if you don't have the P-47, the main P-47, this is a good substitute for it, but it's still incredibly powerful. It's still a P-47 at the end of the day, but the problem with it is it's too similar to the P-38. The only real difference is that the P-38 doesn't have a 500-pound bomb. As well as you use this and you're sacrificing the A-20. So you can only use this alongside the A-20, and in my opinion, it's not as good as the regular P-47, which is why it's coming in only at number 5. It's unique, but with its payload, but other than that, it's just a P-47. I mean, it's still a P-47 at the end of the day, but you can see why it's coming in at number 5. Anyways, let's move on to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is probably one of the most common rewards that you see with these events. It is the gold order for weapons. You've seen these in a few events. Victory in Europe had one. The original D-Day had one. Silent Hunters famously had one. And the Enlisted's birthday had a couple, actually. But basically, these are gold order for weapons. No catch about them. You get a gold order for weapon. It's basically no catch about them. It's a free gold order weapon, and some of them, some gold order weapons are great, like the Suomi, the Gewehr 43 chambered in the Kurtz round. The VMP is really good. The Pedersen rifle is really good. I think there's a Italian one as well. The Pavetti, I believe it's what it's called. It's a semi-automatic rifle. That's pretty good. There's a few pretty strong weapons to get with the gold one. And you can even get some meme weapons like the Badan, the RMN, and that's about it, really. The suppressed Nagants as well. You can also get the suppressed Nagants. So, yeah. It's really, you can either get a very seriously good weapon or a very serious meme weapon, which I think is just hilarious, which is one of the reasons why it's coming in number 4. Also because gold orders are not the easiest to get. So it had to come in at number 4 just on the premise that gold orders are quite rare to get. They're quite rare to get, so yeah, which is why it's coming in at number 4. Anyways, let's move on to number 3. Coming in at number 3 is the PPK squad. Now, the PPK squad was the event squad in the Battle Summer event, and they were the face of Battle Summer. And it was, you literally had a time where you couldn't go into Berlin, and you wouldn't find at least 5 of these guys running around. These guys are very good. The PPK is, in my opinion, the best Soviet magazine fed, so basically box magazine SMG. It's not as good as the PPD, and it's not as good as the PPSH in terms of with the drums. However, if you compare it to the PPS 42, the PPS 43, and even the PPSH with the stick mag, I would prefer the PPK over those. Now, the PPK is a very good, it's just a very good SMG, and honestly, it was a very good squad. It was the first pseudo-premium squad that they did, and they actually did a very good job with it. The it's historically inaccurate because there was only 2 ever PPKs, so ordinarily you've got double the amount of of PPKs that were ever produced in this single squad. But I think it was a very good squad. It's a very fun one to use. I still use it, even when I've got PPD spam. But yeah, the PPK, a very good SMG, and honestly, it was a very good squad. And I think this really set the standard very high, and it's one of the things that Fire in November kind of failed at. Fire in November was better than Battle Summer in my opinion, but I think that the PPK squad was much better than the New Zealanders. So with the car LMG. So yeah. Anyways, let's move on to number 2. Coming in at number 2 is actually the Jagdpanzer IV, which was it was in Fiery November, requiring 11 tasks to be completed. Now, what's really good about the Jagdpanzer IV was it's just such a good tank. Well, it's a tank destroyer, but it's honestly the best tank destroyer in the game. Honestly, this thing is it's underrated. This thing is underrated. I've seen this thing take out pretty much everything. And honestly, I think it's one of the best vehicles in the game. And it's very hard to kill as well. The thing is as well, this thing is actually quite difficult to kill. I've never figured out how to kill one of these things. I've killed a couple of them, but mostly it's just from literally chucking an explosive pack underneath it. And there's one of my friends, a guy called Comp, and he loves this thing, and he's really good with this thing, and it's borderline frustrating to go up against. Despite this, however, I think it's a very solid tank. It is very solid. It can take out most tanks, and because of how small it is, it's actually very hard to hit, especially because of the positioning of the turret, the positioning of the crew, how small it is, the armor. It's very good, and it's got those sandbags over it, so it's very easy to mistake it for for some piece of for some piece of rubble. You think, oh, it's a piece of rubble. Nope, it's a 75mm Jagdpanzer IV. But yeah, very good tank, and very underrated, actually. I think this thing is probably one of the most underrated vehicles in the game, and honestly, yeah, I think this thing should come back. I think they should bring this thing back, to be honest. In a later event, maybe if they do Fiery November again, bring this thing back. It's actually a pretty solid tank. Anyways, let's move on to what I think is number 1. Now, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit with this, as the number 1 reward is from the same event, and they're essentially the same soldiers. It's eventually the same, but I just could not figure out a way to distinguish between the two. And everyone probably knows what this is. Coming in at number 1, without a question of a doubt, is the Silent Hunter squads. Both of them, the SAS and the SAS with the Sten Mark II suppressed, and the reconnaissance, whatever it is, I can't remember, the 177 I believe it is, reconnaissance. Yeah, the 277 reconnaissance with the MP40. Now, why are these at number 1? Well, put it bluntly, these are some of the best squads in the game. And if you got these, now I'm just gonna say I got both of these when I was on different stages of the campaign. I got the SAS when I was about level 13 in Tunisia, and I got the 277th when I was maxed in Normandy. However, despite this, I love the 277th. I was actually me, Napoleon Total, and Katyusha and Gant. We were all three of us were playing. We got airfield, and we were just, me and Napoleon were just using these guys, and we were just having a lot of fun with them. I had a lot more fun using this MP40 with the suppressor, and just messing around with these, than I actually did with my MP43. I actually think this is one of the best squads in the game. The Tunisia squad as well is just as good. I have more fun with both of these squads than I do with stuff like the MP43, the Thompson. They're a lot of fun to have, and the thing is as well, they're very powerful. You know, you've got essentially a 5-man assaulter squad with an AT gunner and an engineer, all using suppressed weapons, which, obviously suppressed weapons, it doesn't really do much on players because you can still hear the gunshots, but they do have an effect on bots. And as well as that, they actually look incredible, I think. These are some of the best looking squads in the game. I really love obviously I've made the joke about the Riddler. I've made it to death. I literally call the 277th the Riddler Battalion, the Riddler Squad. And obviously the SAS, I still use the SAS as my icon. I love that icon. But honestly, both are very good. They just, I can't distinguish between the two. They both are really good. Also, they get access. You get either a free Panzerfaust or a free Piat if you're using them. And obviously, of course, the SAS get their unique knife with it, with the unique dagger. I think it's like the commando dagger. So I generally cannot put these anywhere other than number 1, and everyone knew that these were going to be number 1. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What you guys think. What's your favourite event rewards? Join the Discord if you haven't already. It's basically the best way to contact me and for me to, if you want to have a game with me or something, that's probably the best way. And I'll see you guys in the next video.